My name is Nicole Giacomotti. The theory that I'm going to be sharing today is the cognitive dissonance theory. Cognitive dissonance refers to a situation involving conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors. This produces a feeling of discomfort leading to an alteration of attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors to reduce the discomfort and restore balance, etc. I'm going to read this definition right from the book. Cognitive dissonance is the distressing mental state that people feel when they find themselves doing things that don't fit with what they know or having opinions that do not fit with other opinions that they hold. So when I think about that, I would say like kind of not a double standard, but you can agree with something that's being said, but you don't have to agree with the action itself, if that makes sense. So, for example, let's say I like to eat chicken. It's just a very far stretched out example. I like to eat chicken. You like chicken, but you don't eat it, if that makes sense. Let me give a better example. So, a better example, I like to wear pink hoodies. So, you could like the color pink, but not necessarily like hoodies. Where I like pink and hoodies. So it's saying that there's a double meaning to what you interpret regarding this theory. Or, for example, another thing that people do that has a more of an impact is when people smoke cigarettes. People smoke cigarettes and they know that smoking causes cancer, but they still decide to do it anyways. Just how you have a credit card, you max it out because you need the money, but you know you maxed it out, right? Same idea. The cognitive dissonance theory suggests that us as people, we have an inner drive to hold all of our attitudes and beliefs in harmony and to avoid disharmony, or in other words, dissonance. Attitudes may change because of factors within the person. These factors can be based off of like morals, values, kind of like beliefs, the way you were raised, all of that. This theory starts from the idea that we seek consistency in our beliefs and attitudes. In any situation where two cognitions are inconsistent. So dissonance results when an individual must choose between attitudes and behaviors that are contradictory. So, for example, behaviors such as a little kid hitting another kid because you're being mean to him, or a bully and a student standing up to a bully because the bully's showing not fair behavior. Dissonance can be eliminated by reducing the importance of conflicting beliefs and having the ability to acquire new beliefs that change, balance, or remove the conflicting attitude or behavior. A cognition can be considered a belief. Like, I'm going to go back to the smoking example. If you like to smoke, then this can be considered a cognition. If you like ice cream, this can be another cognition. Those two beliefs that I stated, they're not related to each other, but if one of them became dissonant with the other, then according to cognitive dissonance theory, cognitive dissonance will happen. For example, if you like to smoke, but you know that smoking is harmful, then that would result in cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance theory states that when two cognitions become dissonant, cognitive dissonance happens. So, the first example that I gave is knowing that smoking is harmful, while liking to smoke, which would be the second cognition. The cognitive dissonant theory's conditions were met because those cognitions are dissonant. So example 2 is believing that lying is bad and being forced to lie. It's kind of where, here, I'm trying to find a better way to explain it. When you think something's wrong, and then someone comes along and tells you to do it and forces you to do it. So, peer pressure, for example. You don't like drinking alcohol, but if you're forced to do it, that would be cognitive dissonance because you don't agree with drinking alcohol. But if you're in a position where you're forced to do it, it goes against your beliefs and your beliefs and what you grew up thinking, essentially, like the way you grew up. With cognitive dissonance, I would say people adapt in many different ways. For example, a person might adapt by creating something new and changing an attitude or changing behavior to better adapt. A person could create a new cognition by claiming that lots of old people smoke since they were young and they are still healthy. Just like, I don't want to use smoking, but another thing that is common would be vaping. I know a lot of people in high school, college, even older people are starting to use vapes. They say that vapes are supposed to be healthier and help with overall, like, they don't have as bad as side effects as cigarettes themselves. Studies have found that vapes are actually harmful. They just don't know exactly how harmful they are to be, because I know with cigarettes they didn't know what the side effects were until years later. So it could be things that are still going on right now. Like, many things can apply to us specifically. I know that I myself vape, but even with knowing the effects and the reaction, or the effects and the advantages and disadvantages, I don't really think there's many advantages aside from it de-stresses me. But there's more disadvantages than advantages. I still decide to do it because it's my choice, you know. I don't think it goes against anything that I stand for by myself, so that's why I still choose to do it. Cognitive dissonance theory as well. A person might change their attitude, but not change the way they think or they process certain information. They can change how they think, like mentality-wise, how they think about things, but not how they choose to process them. So overall, I would say that the cognitive dissonance theory really relates to a lot of our daily life things. When you think of like double standards, like at a workplace, where you get told you're doing something wrong, but then the other person does it, and they're doing the same thing as you, and it's considered right. In the workplace, at home with your siblings, if you're an older sibling, I know that I'm an older sibling and I get blamed for things all the time versus my younger sibling, who's only like a couple years younger than I am, doesn't get blamed for anything. It ends up being my fault either way. Same with friends as well. You can have your own opinion, they can have their own opinion, but you give your opinion because you believe it's the right one, yet they still think that it's wrong. Even though you know it's right. Like, let's say we're talking about factual things, like the sky is blue, and your friend's like, no, the sky is purple. No, the sky is blue. Like, you're stating a fact, or it's something that you know is true, but they contradict what you say. So, overall, I would say I hope you learned a lot about cognitive dissonance theory. And thank you for watching my presentation.